You are watching a technical assistance video provided by the Family Effect Project, engagement for families, educators, and the community together, funded through a grant to insource the Indiana Statewide Family Engagement Center. Every learner, every family, every educator.
Hello, my name is Natalie Hicks, and I'm the Assistant Director of Outreach for the Statewide Family Engagement Center here in Indiana. Our topic for today is Building Bridges, Engaging Families as Partners in Student Success. We know that family engagement is hard, but it's not about doing more. It's about doing things together with more intention. Our objectives is strengthen communication strategies, build a more welcoming school climate, and connect family partnerships to academic success. You'll take away some useful tools and resources to bridge the gap between educators and families. But before we move forward, I want to pause and invite a moment of reflection. Think back to a professional development session where you attended in the past, whether it was focused on instruction, behavior, or data. Can you remember a moment when families crossed your mind? Maybe it was just the thought of, how will I explain this to a parent? Or a deeper realization, this new strategy could actually help me partner with families more effectively. The question isn't about right or wrong answer, it's about awareness. Because how often we think about families in our professional learning spaces and our decision making tells us something about the role we believe families play in student success. Are families seen as visitors to the process or partners in it? This moment of reflection helps us understand our own mindset, and it sets the stage for something deeper. If we truly believe families matter for academic outcomes, then our PDs, our systems, and our daily practices should reflect that. What role could families play in helping students succeed in academics? This question might seem simple on the surface, but it's actually incredibly powerful. We're going to unpack it together, not just based on research, but based on your lived experience. When we talk about improving reading levels, increasing math proficiency, or closing gaps, we often think about instructional strategies, interventions, or curriculum tools. And those are all important. But here's the thing, families are already positioned to support academic success. The question is whether we're trying to invite them in or equipping them with the right tools. Let's consider the different roles families can play. They can build routines at the home that support learning, like consistency in bedtime, homework time, or reading aloud. They can communicate valuable insights and how their child learns, what motivates them, and what's happening outside of school. They can also help create a sense of shared purpose. When students see families and their teachers on the same team, their sense of belonging, motivation, and accountability increases. But here's the challenge. These roles can only be activated when we as educators create the invitation. Family engagement is not about adding something to your plate. It's about doing things together. Now let's talk a bit about barriers. What barriers do families and educators face in helping with academics such as reading and math? And we're going to break this down a little. Families may face barriers like limited time at work or due to work, working multiple jobs, the lack of confidence in how to help, especially if they didn't learn the content the same way. I know we all have been in that predicament. Not understanding the expectations or academic vocabulary used in schools. Past negative experience with schools, they might feel unsafe or intimidated. Limited access to resources like books, internet, or even a quiet place to work with their student. Now we're going to switch the side and look at the educator side because you too have barriers. Limited time during the school day to connect meaningful with the families. Not always knowing how to explain curriculum in family-friendly language. Fear of miscommunication or not knowing how to handle tough conversations. Feeling unequipped or unsupported in how to build trust. especially with families with different cultural backgrounds or lived experiences. Now that we've identified barriers, what can we done to remove these barriers? We could start by being clear. There's no one size fits all solutions. But here's some strategies that we could explore together. Build a welcoming culture every day. And it starts with, how do we greet families at the door? How do we answer the phone? And how do families feel in our spaces? Are we sending messages to families that they're seen and valued? We can refrain from school language. Instead of saying your child is struggling with fluency, we can say, we're working on helping your child read with confidence and expression. We can offer flexible opportunities. Not every family can attend an event at 6. We can offer digital options, send home a quick video, or invite feedback through text message. Engagement doesn't have to look one way. Or how about just asking the families what they need? Sometimes we assume, but we could ask in surveys, informal conversations, check-ins to understand their realities and support them. Family engagement doesn't belong to one person. It's the front office staff, teachers, support teams. We all have a role and we all support one another. It is a team effort. Now, I've been talking about family engagement for quite some time, but what is family engagement to you? Think on that. I said it in the beginning, we are the Statewide Family Engagement Center, and we developed a definition for family engagement, a dynamic collaboration among students, families, educators, and community members to promote children's learning and full development. This is accomplished through trust relationships, co-created goals, shared leadership, a welcoming community environment, and fully accessible resources. Now, I'm sure the words, the phrases that you develop or thought about with family engagement is in this definition as well. On this next slide, I want you to read the survey. This survey was developed by the Statewide Family Engagement Center. The survey collects school staff perspectives, experiences, and practices of school family engagement for better student outcomes in regards to welcoming school environment and communication. As you read these statements, if it was this year or the previous year, how well are you communicating with your families? How often have you emailed your families? How often have you texted your families about their child doing in school? Call families about how their child is doing? Or just had a simple conversation? That could be on the phone, face to face. Invited them to the school. Asked for feedback. Hosted activities and connected families with other families. At least once a week, once a month, 3 or 4 times a year, once a year, or never. And again, this is a self-reflection survey to help you think about your own family engagement practices. Let's talk about how do you communicate? School staff talks with families in different ways. And that could be phone, text, email, electronic resources, in person, home visits. Your staff talks to families, your principal is available. Families are informed about activities after school. Families are kept up to date on important dates. Your school consistently sends home information in family's first language. Value student opinions. Families know what their children are doing well in school, grades, attendance, behavior. They also know about problems. Is your website easy to navigate? Is it up to date? Does it have useful information? How well are you doing this? Extremely well, quite well, moderately well, slightly well, and not well at all. Take your time, think about it. What about a welcoming school climate? School has parking spots by the front door where families could park. School has signs to welcome families. Offer ways for families to help their children with schoolwork. Has ways for families to help their children with things besides schoolwork. Materials about activities in a language that families could understand. The school respects and honors families' culture and traditions. And all families' cultures and traditions are respected equally. School have events at times and places during the week that are easy for families to attend. Teachers and other school workers greet families when they're at the school. School let families be a part of how decisions were made at the school. And you have groups for parents. And you welcome new families to join the parent groups. Are you doing this extremely well, quite well, moderately well, slightly well, or not well at all? Now let's pause and bring our reflection full circle. You're just taking the time to think about your own beliefs, assumptions, and experiences about families, barriers, and what's possible. Now let's ask, based on your responses, how does that impact the way you communicate with families and with students? Again, this is a self-reflection. You might think, if I believe that some families don't care, I might avoid reaching out or sound defensive. Someone else might be thinking, if I assume a family won't understand, I might skip explaining something important. But on the other hand, someone might be thinking, if I believe family brings strength, I'm more likely to open two-way dialogue. Someone might be thinking, if I see a cultural difference as assets, I'll be more inclusive in how I share information. We all know parents and family members are the first teachers in every child's life. This is one of those foundational truths that we often say, but don't always slow down to really consider. Parents and family members are the first teachers. Before any child even entered our classrooms, they're already learning. They're learning at home, in a community. They're learning through culture, language, relationships, and daily routines. They've learned how to communicate, how to express emotions, how to navigate the world, long before we were introduced our standards and our assessments to them. Recognizing that families as first teachers is more than just a nice sentiment. It's the shifting in mindset. That really means partnering, not positioning ourselves as the only experts. listening before we assume, and understanding that trust is built when families feel respected and seen. Investments in student development are enhanced through effective engagement of families. But how does this change what we do? This statement is backed on decades of research from early childhood through high school. When we engage families effectively, every investment we make in students, academically, socially, and emotionally, becomes more powerful. But again, the real question is, how does this change what we do? It means we stop seeing family engagement as something separate from instruction. It becomes a part of our plan, how we teach and how we support student growth. Shifting the mindset can look like this. When we design a reading intervention, we ask, how can families support this at home? And do they have the tools to do so? When we celebrate academic growth, we can ask, have we included families in the celebration? When we communicate a concern, we can ask, are we offering families a way to be a part of the solution or just delivering a report? When planning PD and other school initiatives, bringing the family involved, are they co-leading or are they just there? It's about shifting the mindset from delivering to partnering, from involvement to engagement, from assumptions to intentional design. When we lead with a deficit mindset, we focus on what families lack. A strength-based approach assumes families bring knowledge, culture, and care. This shift is about choosing to see families as partners instead of problems. Ask yourself, what assumptions might I need to unlearn? Changing your mindset is more than just parents to events. You have to ask yourself, am I just inviting them to come? Do families leave understanding what their child should know or be able to do at their grade level or age level and where their child currently stands? Are families giving practical tools and opportunities to practice how they can support learning at home? Do families have a clear path to follow up and stay in communication with their child's teacher? Families are respected for their assets. When we say this, we're talking about the fundamental shift in how we engage with them. Too often in education, we start that families don't have. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough knowledge of the curriculum. They're just not involved enough. Again, this is the deficit mindset and it closes doors. But when we lead with an asset-based mindset, we recognize and respect that every family brings something valuable to the table. This can be cultural knowledge, deep understanding of the child's learning style and behavior, networks of support, extended families, neighbors, community organizations. And we understand this work, building strong, authentic family partnership, doesn't happen by accident. It requires training from both educators and families. It doesn't happen just because we care about kids. It requires intentionality. It requires a school. It requires the district. It requires the staff. It requires the families. It requires the community. It requires everyone. Everyone should be trained on family engagement. For staff, the training is about building cultural competence, learning how to communicate clearly and respectfully across differences, knowing how to listen and not just inform, understanding that family engagement is connected to academics. It's not an extra. For families, it's about learning how the school system works, understanding how to support their child's learning at home, It's about feeling like partners, not visitors. So, if we really want to transform family engagement, we have to move beyond assumptions and provide real opportunity to build capacity on all sides. It's not about blaming anyone for what we don't know. It's about creating a culture where learning is ongoing for all of us. And when we commit to that learning together, we build trust, we increase impact, and most importantly, we support better outcomes for students. Proactive inclusion of families in school leadership. Families should not just be included in school events, they should be included in school leadership. That doesn't mean parents are running the school, but it does mean they're creating intentional opportunities for families to guide, shape, and support the direction of the school. This means moving beyond only calling families when there's a problem, or only asking for volunteers for events, only including the same few parents who always show up. Instead, proactive inclusion means inviting families into decision making spaces like advisory groups, improvement planning teams, or family councils. Creating accessible and equitable pathways for leadership, different times, language, and formats. Asking questions like, whose voices are we not hearing? What barriers exist for families to lead and partner with us? Providing training and mentorship so families can feel confident and prepared to lead. And here's why it matters. When families are a part of shaping school practices and priorities, trust increases. And when trust increases, collaboration, attendance, communication, and student outcomes all improve. Changing your mindset depends on relationships and trust. If it's only one thing you walk away with today, it's family engagement isn't a program, it's a relationship. And relationships built on trust. We can have the best flyers, the most polished school events, even a perfect translation app. But if families don't feel seen, respected, or safe, they won't engage. Trust doesn't come from one good conversation. It's built over time, through consistency, through small everyday actions, being honest, even when things are hard. By showing families that they're not just here to inform them, but we're here to work with them. And trust works both ways. We have to trust families too. Trust that they care, trust that they're doing their best, and that their insights matter. This is especially important when things get tough, when there's a conflict, a missed meeting, or a difficult conversation. That's when relationships really matter. Now I want you to take a look at these communication examples and identify some features that make one more effective at building a trusting relationship. I'm going to give you some time to read letter one. As you read through the examples, consider the tone, clarity. Does it offer partnership? Assumptions? You might notice the small shifts in language makes a big difference. Now look at letter two. Again, consider the tone. Is it easy for families to understand what's being communicated? Are you inviting the family to the conversation, or are you just informing them? And as you're thinking, what makes one message more effective than the other, especially when it comes to building trust? What stands out? What could we reword or improve? And most importantly, how can we apply this to our daily conversation with families? Do you see any patterns of feeling welcoming or defensive? Any phrases that stand out? Any words? Now, as we move forward, we're going to talk about our continued self reflection and growth around family engagement. I'm asking you to complete a self guided gallery walk at your school and or district. This isn't about checking the boxes. It's about slowing down, observing with attention, and asking, what messages are we sending to families? And how might we strengthen those messages? You can do this individually or with a small group, during your prep time, before or after school, or during a team meeting. The goal is to look at your school environment with fresh eyes, the way a family member might experience it. And here are the 3 areas we want you to reflect on. Physical environment. What do families see when they enter your building? Are signs clear, inclusive, and welcoming? What does the tone of the front office feel like? Warm, rushed, confusing, friendly? First contact practices. How are families greeted? At the door, on the phone, via email or text? Are welcome letters and first day messages inviting and easy to understand? Do they reflect care and partnership? Inclusive language and access. Are materials translated and culturally respectful? Is digital communication, like text, emails, class dojo, family friendly? Are families with limited English able to engage? Again, your task is to walk through your school with these questions in mind. Take notes and photos. Reflect on what's working and what can be improved on. Bring your observations to your next PD or next team huddle. This is a chance for you to really look and show how we are doing or not doing to allow families belong here. If you're doing it in a small group, consider assigning one area per team and reporting back. The more perspectives, the better. As we come to the end of our session today, I want to bring us back to the core of the work. It's not just systems or strategy or school practices, but us. What we believe, how we show up, and how we choose to engage with families is all that matters. Throughout this session, we explore how a welcoming environment impacts families' trust in student outcomes, the connection between family engagement and academic success in reading and in math, the role of communication, not just what we say, but how we say it, the importance of seeing families through a strength-based lens, and what it really takes to build trust over time through consistency and being humble. Now I invite you to reflect on this final prompt. What's one thing you would start, stop, or change in your own family engagement? Is there a mindset you want to shift? A habit you want to build or break? A barrier you're ready to acknowledge and work through? You can jot it down privately, share it with somebody, but the power is in your commitment. It doesn't have to be a huge action. Small changes done consistently are what build culture and trust. I want to invite you to our Family Effect monthly newsletter. Feel free to reach out to insource.org. You can also look at our family engagement website. Family engagement is not a checklist. It's a mindset, a community effort, and a long game. You don't have to do this work quickly or alone. Thank you and have a great day.
To access information from this video, go to insource.org, select Family Engagement, Resources.